this interministerial committee had been appointed or established by the president to coordinate this effort of addressing the political killings in KwaZulu-Natal, that interministerial committee being the Minister of Police then at the time, who would have been Minister Pele, and the other ministers of intelligence, State Security Agency, Defense, Justice and Constitutional Development. Those in defense, they in that cluster. Were you aware of that, or did you become aware of that committee?
Yes, I became aware that there was an interministerial task team that was established as an intervention by the president in 2018, and he established that. What I then came to know later is that the intervention, the political intervention by the president, especially after one incident or at the time of one of the incidents, in case that the president directed or commanded that there must be a mechanism to respond to the problem, and appointed the interministerial task team or interministerial committee who were tasked with that particular task of developing or establishing a mechanism to respond to the call at that time, and they then established a second tier, which was a steering committee, which I would imagine they established a third tier at an operational, foundational level of people who would operate, and that was under a lieutenant general who was deputy national commissioner at that time. So the intervention that the president wanted to see and finally saw was a kind of a three-tier kind of intervention when it was completed and started operating as it started, and then got to be known as the National Political Killings Task Team. So it referred to that kind of three-tier, each one clearly identified, interministerial, and then the second tier being the steering, and then the operational one right on the ground of people who were operatives. So that was a complete mechanism that the president set up to deal with that incident of Mr. Pktt, Mchunu, and other matters that got referred to them later, but it was in direct response to that particular incident, among others that had happened just before that one. And it was a concern to the president. That is what then happened, which would then be assessed or evaluated from time to time to look at impact and other aspects thereof.
Now, you mentioned that must one accept that you were briefed on this, on how the team was, or the unit, I think. Would you prefer to call it a unit?
I prefer to.
Would you prefer to call the task team a unit?
No. I actually must express a worry that when Major General Van Rooyen was called, I think, to the Madlanga Commission, and she was asked a specific question: is there a difference between a unit and a team, task team? she, to the best of my collection, said there's no difference. I got very worried because throughout the orientation and so on, up to when I was given leave, there's always been a clear distinction between a task team and the unit. And as a practice in subs, the units become part of the organogram. And that includes that unit that was Cattleman task team. I can't remember the exact term that they used, but that one was a unit, meaning it was part of the organogram. But this one, the political task team, has never been part of the organogram, including when we dealt with the organogram under my leadership after I got appointed, because under my leadership, what we did is we took the strategic plan and the annual plan, we started that, and we came together to say, what is the meaning of this in relation to this, the organizational structure, the current one of SAPS? And we reviewed that. We went to a thorough process of reviewing the organizational structure with a view to aligning it with the strategic plan of the department, following the imperatives of the 6th or 7th administration with its 3 priorities, with a thorough discussion.
When would that have been?
I may have dates here when we had there would be various dates, but all I know is that in May this year, there's been a signing off of the new organogram that we started discussing last year. And it took months before we could complete it and make it ready to go to negotiations. But it has been signed off this year. And so that kind of process that we went to.
So can I just help us understand, Minister? So what appears on an organogram is the word unit. No words like task teams are on the organogram.
There isn't.
And if a unit is called a task team, then what is the status of this task team if it doesn't appear on the organogram? Is it an unofficial unit? Is it a rogue unit? How would you describe
a unit?
Yes.
Yes, a unit would be deliberately established as part of the organogram for a particular purpose. But it would be, as I have observed up to now, it would be on a sustainable basis. In other words, it would be envisaged as a long-term kind of an arrangement. Some of these units have been there for quite a long time, and that has been the practice. But at the same time, task teams have been established from time to time at various levels. I suppose that even at a district level, a district commissioner would observe a particular problem in their area of jurisdiction, and they would say, we need a particular task team to deal with that particular problem, and of 3 people or 4 people and so on, and they would be allocated some resources and they would deal with it. At provincial level, they would do the same, establish a task team for a particular purpose with a specific time frame, specific allocation of resources, and it would be gone into. Once the mission has been accomplished, they would then withdraw members. Remember, when you establish a task team, you don't all of a sudden appoint people from outside. You pick up people from within that particular area as you choose as they may be suitable in terms of their expertise for a particular purpose. And then you draft them in as part of that particular task team. And as soon as the mission has been accomplished, you then get them back so that they continue to play their role where they come from. You don't open up a gap on a permanent basis because it will cause confusion. Say, for instance, in a province, if you suddenly see the need to establish 8 task teams for a particular reason, it would mean that you would need to call a number of people from the and who you wouldn't be able to replace for the duration of that particular. So that's why it is always necessary that once you are done with the mission, you withdraw people. They don't ask you where to go. They go back to where they are ordinarily appointed. So that has been the practice, well established in SAPS.
So can we accept then, from what you're saying, that a task team won't appear on organizational structure or what is called an organogram because it is appointed to perform a specific task? And in this case, the president appointed this interministerial committee to establish a task team to deal with political killings, specifically in KZN.
And he made that task team be chaired by the Minister of Police, who would then perform administrative duties of the interministerial committee in terms of agendas for meetings, discussion, and all of those as Minister of Police. And everybody was aware that this is a task team. In fact, throughout government, in my experience, outlined before, once you mention task team in the country, 2 things jump up in your mind. One is that you are going to pool a number of people with skills that are relevant for what needs to be done. Like in a disaster, you put up a task team. You pull up people that are going to be relevant in dealing with that particular task that has been identified in a particular area for that particular time. But it is always an element of a time frame. You don't establish a task team but on a permanent basis. If you do, it's rare. It would be peculiar, but ordinarily, a task team has a date of starting, date of ending, pool resources, you pull people back to where they belong. So this particular task team was established as such, as a task team. And this task would be evaluated from time to time and assessed whether it would still be needed as time went on, as it happened.
Okay.
That's the practice.
Yeah. So on what you are saying, Minister, so once this task, this job, same thing. You've got a job to do.
Yes.
You've got a job to do, and once your job is completed, thank you very much. The job is completed, and we don't need you anymore. So in this case, who would have determined or decided that the task has been performed and the team can now be disbanded?
Let me just make one example to respond to you. On the 2014 to 16 task team that was in KZN, it wasn't established by the president. It wasn't. It was internal to SAPS, and the minister would have started that one, possibly using his powers in terms of Section 207, 2, where his tasks are identified clearly. So he establishes that and picks up people from this and that unit from that police station and so on. When it was time, when this one of 2018 got established, the way this one of 2014 to 16 was 2016 to 18, the way it was disestablished, when the discussions took off and matured of the National Political Task Team, people got informed that there is now a new direction and we're setting up a new one and so on. So there wouldn't have been a formal disbandment beyond telling people that we no longer have this one, we have this one. But as per whatever the minister would have directed, in this instance, the president intervened, and I call it political intervention, because before the president established the interministerial task team and directed them in a particular way, there was no such. There was no such. And then the interministerial task team gets to discuss and put together ideas. What form is it going to take? What is it going to do, and so on. And they put in all the ideas as they did. Still, ministers, and the chair is a minister. And it goes on with the work. What happened in the new administration, the 7th administration, there's no interministerial task team in this regard. There isn't. Now, Minister of Police can't establish an interministerial task team. It can only be the president and cabinet. So you land in that situation. Okay, you start working, you continue working. And then at a particular time, considering a number of factors, which I will go into if you give me time, then you take a particular decision.
So before we come to a particular decision or the decision that you took, the evidence is not dissimilar or different to what you are narrating, that there was a task team in KZN 2016, 2017, 2018, established in wake of Morani, but matters had worsened. The situation had been aggravated by more killings. That at the disturbing level, the president then said, "I'm going to appoint this interministerial committee to establish this task team, this political killings task team." So up until that point, there was a task team looking into political killings, but very much localized, made up of officers from KZN province. But it was then established that it wasn't that effective for various reasons. Officers from KZN, some would be bribed, some were corrupt, some are just scared because they come from the community. So it was established that this task team was ineffective, and then it was decided that they'll bring in officers from other parts of the country also to form this task team. I don't know if you're familiar with that as the narrative changes. So in 2018,
yes,
the composition of this task team had now changed. You aware of that?
I'm quite aware of that because, as the name says or suggests, IMC, that is interministerial. They get brought together to work together and establish a mechanism in the way they did, as per their discussions, a mechanism, and it was two-tiered. They pull in other officials from relevant departments.
Yeah, so
in the steering committee, and then thereafter
the interministerial committee
Yes.
formed of different ministers would then provide expertise, resources from
Yes.
various departments to form a multidisciplinary team.
Yes.
And it would also involve the working with the NPA, so it was directed by a prosecutor.
Yes, and police from
Yes.
outside KZN.
And this formed part of a presentation that was done to the interministerial task team. Are you aware of that? And General Mkwanazis was instrumental in making such a presentation. I think at the time, General Sithole was the national commissioner.
Yes.
Are you aware of that?
Yes, he was. It was him at that time.
But are you aware of the presentation that was done? Were you aware of the role that General Mkwanazis played in the formation of this task team?
Yes, I'm aware. And I'm also aware of what other role players played, because it was not a one-man show. It was the interministerial task team giving a team of officials a task, which they came back to present to them. It was always a group of people.
In fact, if just for the record, Honourable Chair, honourable members, if I may refer you to bundle 3 of the exhibit bundle.
This one.
The exhibit bundle, yeah.
Yes.
You got it?
Yes.
Item 1.
Yes.
Item 1 of the exhibit bundle, EB1, pages 1 to 10.
So what page specifically?
And you'll see from page, you've got it, the Minister? Exhibit bundle 3.
That one. Yes.
Okay. You'll see at page 1, this is an information note. And the heading is Implementation Plan. Investigation of political related KwaZulu-Natal cases, KwaZulu-Natal from 1 July 2018 to 31 December 2018.
Yeah, I see that. That's page 2.
Okay. It is.
That's page 2 above.
And on page 10,
Okay.
you'll see at the bottom, it is dated 18 June 2018.
Yes, I see that.
And you'll see this plan was approved by then National Commissioner Sithole.
Yes, I see that.
And that looks like his signature, or is his signature. And you'll see that this note was compiled by Brigadier Khumalo.
Nothing. Sure, I would do honestly.